All right, folks, we're out here talking to the parents. Esther, our wonderful parent liaison, has been scoping the interwebs, looking for some of the biggest issues going on right now for parents regarding scholarships, regarding life after high school, life after college, what to do, what programs to take, right? And so what we're going to do is we're going to slowly start going over all of these questions and using our wonderful crack staff here at Laddering Success to give some answers to hopefully help, inspire, and help us as we're climbing that ladder to success. All right. So one of our parents is asking the question, what are we doing wrong? My daughter graduated last year with a 4.7 GPA, which included 2 IB program classes and multiple AP classes, while also working part-time, captain of XC team, Key Club, NHS, Hope Squad, theater, and volunteered regularly with our church. She only got partial scholarships last year, and this year, after a wonderful freshman year, all A's, treasurer of her hall council, and nominated onto campus-wide activities board, she received 0 scholarships for next year. She has applied to countless scholarships. So squad, help her answer the question, what are we doing wrong?
Okay, this is a tough one because I know this is going to sound really bad, but sometimes when people are reading those scholarship packages, they could look at a person as an overachiever, that this person is doing all the right things, but the problem is they're not really, particularly in essays and things, letting people know their heart and their passion. So a lot of times as they're screening these scholarship packages, they're looking for a particular type of student, not somebody who's just good at the college game, you know what I mean, or the college going game. They want somebody who maybe they've had some personal struggles they've overcome. Maybe they've had somebody who lines up with the mission and values of that foundation who's funding the scholarship, things like that. So even though you could be doing a lot of the externals, sometimes it comes down to the exact scholarships that you're applying for. So that's the kind of first part. The next part is this: just because you apply for a lot of scholarships doesn't mean you qualify for them all. So the biggest thing you want to really aim for is applying for those things which you are most qualified, right? So the thing is, if there's, hey, I qualify, this one I really qualify. And then that's how you want to approach it, is the most qualified. And then lastly, just make sure you're hitting all the deadlines on time, things like that. It sounds like she's super busy, so she might not be hitting all the scholarships and their deadlines. And on that deadline note, you have to look at school funding cycles too, because schools have these things called funding cycles. So basically, they have an endowment. Most of the schools have large endowments, and that endowment, the school lives off the interest from the endowment. They don't live off of they're not pulling from the principal. So let's say, for example, the school has $100 million. Well, if you have $100 million, let's say it's kicking you off a 10% interest, then you get $10 million a year out of the $100 million by which the school is able to function. Okay, when that money comes out, they're going to put it in the most critical areas first. Hey, we need this building collapsed last year, or this happened, or that happened. They're going to cover all those critical areas first. Then they're going to say, hey, do we have funds for scholarships? And so depending on what that school has gone through in the last couple of years, that money might not be readily available. And the same thing happens at foundations too. So that's something to consider. So I would never, ever say, give up trying though. Keep trying.
Yeah, I absolutely love that, Festus. I think what you said was so powerful, because when you really look at the situation right now in regards to scholarships and post-high school work, there are a lot of folks out there who help students get into the Harvards, get into the Yales, get into the Columbias and the Browns and the Penns. And there's a system, right? There's a system that they follow. There's a way that they show the students attributes and their talents and their skills to get them into those schools and get them access to scholarships. But to your point, there has to be something deeper that's driving you, because if everyone's operating in this system of, we're going to show how great you are. We just went over this in the podcast, right? We talked about the fact that the numbers are down of qualified students that are being accepted into some of your upper echelon schools. So you have to rethink how you're going through some of these things. So to your point, Festus, what's your purpose? What's your story? What's your why? I think that's a super, I don't say what's your why. I'm scarred by education, but more or less, what's your story? And you mentioned something, and I had to put this in my notes, and study the source of who's giving out these scholarships, right? If you're noticing, if you're going to one of the best things you can do on any website is look up their missions and their values, or the About Us, right? Look for the shared characteristics, look for the shared qualities that you all have, and really emphasize that when you're applying for these scholarships or when you're doing your scholarship applications. Also, I love what you said, Festus. Applications for the scholarships do not equal do you qualify for those scholarships. So make sure you're looking for things, when I said earlier, that there's a fit. Lastly, or two more things. We're obviously here because we're trying to pay for school, right? So if we're here, one of my first questions I had was, she says you took 2 AP classes. So my next natural logical question is, did you test out if you took those 2 AP classes? Did you test out of those classes so you didn't have to pay for those classes when you got into college, right? And lastly, did you go local in your scholarship search? I think one of the biggest humps, or low-hanging fruit rather, that people miss are those local scholarships, right? I'd rather rack up 5, 6, 7 of those local scholarships than try to shoot for those big national scholarships, because everybody's applying for those scholarships, right? Stay local, right? What do they say about produce? Eat local, right? Eat local, organic, right? Eat them small scholarships. Knock out some of that debt. So I hope that helps, not just the parent that put that there, but other parents who are dealing with those things.